Mbulavinaka, Fiji, and a warm welcome to Speak Your Mind. This week's episode, it is lovely to have our guests who have come in to talk to us. But before that, Fiji is said to have one of the highest rates of albinism in the world. It affects people worldwide, regardless of ethnicity or gender. The relatively uncommon, non-contagious condition is genetically inherited. Today, our guest is representing the Fiji Albinism Project, Sainimili Tawake, and we've also got Dr. Tui the Cow, who is a dermatologist at the Tumi Hospital. And a warm welcome to the both of you to Speak Your Mind. It's really great to have you, and just bringing up that it wasn't long ago that International Week for Albinism Awareness was celebrated at the Sukuna Park in Suva. So my first question is, was this the first one?
Mbulavinaka, and greetings to you, Lois. Thank you for the question. With regards to the International Albinism Day, this is the fourth year Fiji has been celebrating the International Albinism Day. Mm-hmm. It started way back in 2016, a small gathering at Tamavo Tumi Hospital, and over the years we expanded, and so we brought it down to the park for the past during the past 3 years, and also 2 weeks ago.
Oh, lovely! That's really good. So, how and when was your committee formed? I know you've said that it's for 4 years now, which is quite relatively new, I'd say. So how was the committee formed?
Yes, good afternoon, Louis, and good afternoon to you all tuning in this afternoon. We started off this, what we call an albinism project about 4 years ago. And it all started when we had one of our patient who had albinism, and he succumbed to skin cancer.
Okay.
So that was the trigger factor, one of the areas that we noted that we had been lagging in as far as the care of people with albinism, and that's how it all started off. So there was a meeting called by one of our colleagues from Australia, Dr. Margot Whitfield, and we've been having meetings with us, the ministry, in our department, the dermatology and leprosy unit, and that's where it all started. So we noted that there is a need for these areas to be looked after well.
Okay, so that's skin cancer?
That's right, yes.
So is it common amongst...
It can be very common for people with lack or no pigmentation on the skin.
Okay.
Right? So that's why people with albinism have a tendency to have skin cancers because of that.
So I suppose they'd probably need a lot more protection. So what do you suggest as protection for someone living with albinism?
Exactly. Just for skin cancers worldwide, it's very common among people with white skin.
That's right.
So that's why you see a lot of tourists coming in Fiji with sunscreens, sunblocks, and hats. That's basically the reason to prevent them from getting skin cancers.
Exactly. So same thing, eh?
Same thing. That's exactly.
Up,
that's
long
right.
sleeve,
yes.
or maybe sunscreen as well. They can use sunscreen.
Sunscreen.
Lovely. So what is the main objective of your committee?
We hope to raise awareness on the issues of persons with albinism, and also, we talk about attitudinal change, how members of the community could change their attitude towards persons with albinism. So basically, it's about raising awareness and also focusing on the health condition and the social isolation of persons with albinism.
Lovely. So, doctor, how does a person have albinism?
Yes, that's a very good question indeed. I think that's one of the common questions that we have been asked. It is an inherited skin condition. So either of the parents will have the carrier for albinism in the family, or it's usually have positive family history of albinism. So it's a genetically inherited skin condition.
Okay, so are there numbers? How many persons have albinism in Fiji?
We have about a little over 200 persons with albinism in Fiji. That's only targeting information from around Vitilevu and outer islands. We haven't really gone into Vanuatu
Okay.
and do our, our count or identification of persons with albinism. And we believe there are more, and there are more in rural areas where we have not targeted and we have not reached.
Okay,
But
so
at the moment, we have 200 plus,
Yeah.
and we have about 60 plus across mainstream schools.
okay, thank you. So obviously it's the access to these areas, that's why it's probably hindering the exact count.
Exactly.
Okay, thank you so much.
I think, Luis, one of the areas as well, because it's just a new project, so most of our people with albinism or the relatives are not aware that this is happening. So probably a good advice to those who are listening in, if you know someone with albinism, please just get the contact from us so we can get that registered in our register.
So they could do that through the Tumi Hospital, just call and let you know?
Or go to the nearest health center.
Oh, okay. So at least you can update the statistics. That would be good. So, yes. Now, despite the prevalence of albinism, well, actually, we will come back for more on Speak Your Mind. This is Gold FM, only the classic hits. Thank you a lot for your company. And we're back on Speak Your Mind, Gold FM, only the classic hits. Thank you for being with us. And today our guest representing the Fiji Albinism Project, Sainimili Tawake, and also we have with us Dr. Tui Kau, who is a dermatologist at the Tumi Hospital. Now, I was going to ask the question before I had run out of time. So, despite the prevalence of albinism in Fiji, I believe it's not well understood here.
Yes, exactly. I guess the cultural myths that we have, that albinism is a result of a curse or some kind of punishment done by forefathers, that has resulted to a child having albinism. And these myths has sort of continued to force persons with albinism into isolation within their own families or communities.
And that's pretty surprising. That's actually what is happening in Fiji.
Exactly.
Oh, so that's something for us to find out. And I don't think that's very nice at all. Yes, so how long have they been thinking this or saying this? They're just guessing, obviously, because they don't know anything.
Yes, the reality is there hasn't been any research to confirm what I've just said. However, when conducting trainings on albinism, workshops on albinism here in Fiji, and also with regional participants, these are echoed by all these participants saying, "When we are, what do you understand about albinism?" So this is what they say before we go into it's an inherited genetic condition.
Right.
Yeah, before we, start our, what albinism is all about. And they said, they start to tell their story. My great-grandfather cut a tree, and one of the descendants became. My sister was offered up to a god, and that's how she became albinism. So all these myths.
Oh, dear. But I believe it's really awful in Africa. I mean, that's just terrible.
Exactly.
The stories that happen of people
Yes.
living with albinism, they get murdered.
Yes, they are killed, for wealth, for power, where their organs are sold. Again, because of the cultural myths.
Right. So we've got our cultural myths in Fiji as well. So, I mean, I'm just finding this out today. So what are the physical difficulties faced by people living with albinism?
I guess for me as a excuse me, as a woman with albinism, the greatest challenge is being a black woman
Right.
in a white skin.
Okay.
You know,
Right.
I am an Itoke woman,
Yes.
and yet I'm still considered as, when going out into the village, a Kaivalangini Viti, you know, a Reani Viti. And then when in the European community, I was in the US, and my previous jobs allow me to travel.
Right.
You know, they don't see me as theirs because I am an Itoke, I'm a Fijian. So I guess, being a black woman in a white skin, that is a biggest challenge that we face lots of barriers, every day in our lives, where no one would like to come and sit with us in the bus,
Whoa.
or a family member saying hello in front of everybody else, or in public places. So these are some of the challenges, or a child in school cannot sing the blackboard well. So these are some of the challenges I'm naming with regards to what most of us face.
Yeah, that's a big challenge. But for me, I think you're beautiful. So, I mean.
Thank you. Of course I am.
Yes, you are beautiful. So, yeah, I mean, it is a big challenge to be feeling this way. And I remember just reading a media release where you had someone at Sukuna Park. You had celebrated there. And she's a student of St. Joseph.
Yes.
And she spoke about how, everyone is unique and beautiful.
Exactly.
And she goes through the same thing, people staring, no manners. That's what I'd say. And she just said she ignores them.
Yes.
So I suppose you've got this in you, that strength just to ignore them. But
Yes.
I'm sure it must be very hard to do that as well, especially from when you're small. I mean, imagine when you were born, to be getting all this kind of attitude from the
Yes.
public.
Yes.
Doctor, is there anything you'd like to say?
Yes, I totally agree, Alois, of what has been said. Yes, there's a lot of misinformation. There's a lot of people don't understand what people with albinism go through. And I think that's why we are here, to get that information out for people to understand people with albinism. Mostly the albinism affects the skin and the eyes. And as a human nature, we tend to judge people from their outlook. And therefore the word stigma comes into place.
Okay.
So there's been a lot of stigmatization for people with albinism without realizing that they have feelings, they are human beings, and they needed to be treated as well with respect.
Exactly.
So
I mean,
therefore,
we're equal, right? I
that's
mean,
right.
despite who you are, you're a human being, and there's no difference. I'd say that as well. Okay, so it must be quite a tough thing to go through. Now, you mentioned about when you're a child in school. Now, is there a problem of children with albinism falling behind in school because of their poor eyesight?
Yes, there's a problem where children with albinism could not cope up because they could not see the board properly. Now, with albinism, with the eyesight, some can have extreme short-sightedness,
Okay,
and some can have extreme far-sightedness.
I see.
Yeah, so I mean, but somehow, because of the lack of pigment, the color pigment in the retina,
Okay.
this prevents, that prevents the amount of light that goes in. I mean, in simple terms.
Right.
And so here I am outside there, where the sun rays just go right through. And that's why we squint most of the time.
Okay.
And in the day or when there's a bright light. But nevertheless, the eye condition still, for me, I experience that my visual impairment, I have visual impairment all throughout, because sometimes people say they can see better at night, they don't see better in the day. For me, I've experienced that in the day, because of the heat, it has somehow weakened the cells around my eyes that prevents me from, prevents my vision from seeing. But
Okay.
even though with that vision, I still have visual impairment. So in school, to go back to your question, it's very difficult for some children to be sitting at the front, even at the front, because I was that,
Wow.
and to see the blackboard. So I would wait, and many children with albinism today still go through that. They wait for their friends to give them their books, to copy notes. For us, persons with albinism or children with albinism in schools, we go very fast when there's dictation. Because you see, for persons with disabilities, including albinism, when one sense is lost, for us it's our vision,
Right.
all other senses are forced to develop to compensate for the lost one.
Which is something really good.
Yes. So for us, our hearing becomes very sharp and how we
Yes.
feel becomes very sharp. So it's better for us it's good for us when teachers start to dictate. You know, we're very fast at that. But
Excellent.
when it comes to the blackboard, it's a bit, so we have to wait.
That's really interesting. Thank you, Sunny Millie. We'll be back shortly on Speak Your Mind. This is Gold FM, only the classic hits. We're back on Speak Your Mind on Gold FM, only the classic hits. And I do hope you're enjoying the program. And we have in studio with us from the Fiji Albinism Project Representative Saini Militawake and also Dr. Tuidakau, a dermatologist at the Tumi Hospital. So it's really enlightening talking to you, Saini Mili, of your experience as a child. How you said that because of the weakness of your eyes, your other senses are pretty sharp, which is a good thing. But do teachers realize that you need to be in the front?
Many teachers don't understand. They don't realize that with albinism comes vision impairment. And we were so fortunate, the dermatology program and the Fiji Albinism Project, we partnered with the Ministry of Education in March this year.
Okay.
That's where we held a teachers forum on albinism. So we had a 2 days workshop where all the teachers from the various districts coming in, and we started to educate them on albinism. Some are aware and some do not know at all.
Man, it must have been a pretty good thing for you to be doing, to be letting the teachers know because of your experience and what you know that happens in schools.
Exactly.
So hopefully this information goes to all teachers. Well, that's why we have something like this to create awareness. So what else would you like to say, to teachers, maybe listening in now, that you would like them to pay attention to if a student with albinism is in the class?
Apart from, academic, the teaching, there's also the social inclusion, social acceptance, how teachers and also parents in particular, to educate our children, to be acceptance of one another despite the differences. And because children with albinism face a lot of bullying as well. There's a lot of stigmatization, name calling, labeling.
Teasing, I believe teasing
yes,
would probably be one
condescending, rare, and all these kind of words.
of them.
So
No.
so if teachers are also vigilant on that and just be proactive and have discussions with children that we're all equal, we're all the same,
Yes.
despite the skin color. We're all the same.
Exactly. Doctor?
Yes, it's was quite interesting talking to some of the students with albinism, how they cope in school and how they want to be understood. Unfortunately, in years before, teachers were not aware of the physical problems like the vision problems that people with children with albinism face, and they just did not know. So now that we are on board with the Ministry of Education, and I think they need to be aware that children with albinism need some special treatment, not special treatment in classrooms,
they're
in
just the
schools.
same as us,
That's right.
yes.
Just to understand and address their physical issues.
Yeah, just to be, not so horrible. You know how children are. They're the worst, I reckon, eh?
Oh, yes.
Yeah, they can, really tease. So, like you said, teachers to be aware, but most importantly, parents and guardians as well? Teaching your child to, have manners.
I'll say everyone in the community.
Yes, everyone in the community. So this is a
Even
great thing that we're doing.
adults,
Yeah.
Village headmen,
Mm-hmm.
chiefs, they need to be aware of the issues that people with albinism face who are staying in their village.
Right.
So there's usually a lot of stigmatization and the name calling, and it affects them psychologically and mentally as well.
Yeah, well, so if you're listening and you have someone that you know who is doing this, just tell them to stop because it's not right. I mean, that's what I would say anyway. So, okay, back to the class. Okay, so if you have a child living with albinism in the class, what about the glasses? I mean, they might be a bit poor. I mean, you're educated, of course, Sainimili, you talk wonderfully. So what about their glasses? Maybe if they're poor, would they be able to get these glasses through, charity or something?
They firstly need to get their eyes tested.
Right.
As I said, some of us have extreme farsightedness and some
yes.
are nearsightedness. And that will determine how we will be providing glasses. And the Pacific Eye Institute, they also hold, clinics on albinism. So for persons with albinism listening in, or for parents,
Okay.
they need to contact us so that we can refer them to the doctors, the allocated doctors, assigned doctors,
Okay.
who would, look at, at their eyes, examine their eyes. With regards to glasses, yes, get them tested. Pacific Eye also sell glasses at a very low cost with the right measurement, $15. And also, but if you really cannot afford, please just get in touch with us.
And you can see, maybe
We'll
you might be
see.
able to do
Yes,
something. How
yes.
much? Because glasses aren't cheap. They don't come cheap. Obviously, they will prescribe you the proper glasses, and they cost, what, $100 plus or something?
My glasses is about $400.
Oh, wow, that is expensive.
It is expensive, and I had to save up
And you did.
to it's a need for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I can imagine you must really feel good wearing them because it just makes everything so clear.
Exactly.
Okay, that's good. All right. So do persons with albinism get skin cancer? Obviously, yes. How common is it and why do they get it, doctor?
Yes, in our recent statistics, we have had about three or four who have succumbed to skin cancers. And that's a preventable disease. So
Yes.
because they are at risk because of the color of their skin, so therefore they need to start protecting earlier on during childhood as they grow, and they need to be aware they
Yes.
are at risk of skin cancer if they keep on exposing their skin to
Okay.
the sun.
We'll be back again. We'll continue from that question on Gold FM. This is Speak Your Mind. This is Speak Your Mind on Gold FM, only the classic hits, and we are talking to our friend from the Fiji Albinism Project, and this is the Rep Sanimili Tawake, as well as Dr. Tuida Kau, who's a dermatologist at the Tumi Hospital. So we'll continue from where we left off about you saying that they need to be protected from, well, especially we live in a tropical place where there's, very hot sun, and with climate change, it's even getting hotter. So you can continue from there, doctor.
Yes, exactly. Yes, as I said earlier, they are at risk of skin cancers, so they need to find means and ways of protecting their skin. The best protector is clothing, so either even long sleeve during the day, or now, as we've seen in a lot of our tourists coming in, sunscreens that are available. We are lucky the Ministry of Health had purchased, how much, Sanimili? There was quite a
Yes.
number of
Sunscreen tubes that's been distributed in March this year. So the ministry has procured some sunscreen tubes for persons with albinism, and Dr. Tui's colleagues have been distributing that to subdivisional hospitals. So right now we are in the process of distributing, and we encourage persons with albinism to come into their subdivisional hospital and get a tube or two, and then can always come back for more, because there's lots
Lovely.
that the government has, the ministry has procured.
This is really good. It's nice to see that you're getting a bit of support, and I do admire you for, representing a person living with albinism. Sainimili, you can be their voice.
Thank you.
Yeah, and it's good.
Yes, and the government has been, through the ministry, has been very supportive. There's an allocation for, a budgetary allocation for awareness, public awareness, and again the procurement of sunscreen. And the staff up at Tumi are very friendly when persons with albinism come in. And then we have the staff at the Pacific Eye Institute, are very forthcoming in accepting persons with albinism.
Yes.
Only in the, for the reason of getting them to get treated and providing advice to be protected from, excessive sun exposure.
Yes.
Yes, and as Sainimili has already said, we're very thankful to the government and the ministry for allocating a certain budget for albinism project.
Maybe the glasses can be next, or maybe business
Yes.
houses. If you're listening in right now, I'm sure you can throw in a bit of cash to just help out with the glasses
Yes.
too.
Exactly, thank
So
you.
wherever we go out for outreaches, the dermatology and leprosy unit, they have outreaches every Mondays to the subdivision. And we try and talk to the patients, to the communities, and even to the health workers in regards that we have this project, and we need to have a lot of information on people with albinism to come in and be checked, especially on their skin.
Yes.
So we conduct clinics on Wednesdays and Fridays, and we have special clinics for people with albinism. But because of some of the stigma that they face, so we have kind of flexible with them. They can come in anytime. We are available to see them. And because it's important for us to screen them for skin cancers.
Yeah, that's really important because, like you said, it's preventable. So it's always good to catch it early. So what are the challenges of people with albinism and their families face? Sainimili.
The challenge persons with albinism face is that, getting accepted, getting their voice heard, giving them the voice to participate and the opportunity to participate. We have a couple of persons with albinism out there, who are lawyers, who are doctors,
There
a
you
doctor,
go. Wow.
a nurse, a teacher. So these are role models. So when given the opportunity, persons with albinism can excel like anybody else. And I guess that's the great challenge. And I think it's because the myth, back again to the myth.
Yes, it's all psychological.
Yes.
You actually start to think that, I'm not worthy, I can't do
Yes.
this because of that, the
Yes.
people around you, okay?
Yes. And when they, because of those myths, and they themselves start to pull away even, the community can be forthcoming and welcoming. But again, because of the myth, I was born because and that pushed them away. And again, when it comes to parents, sometimes parents, the Mandua syndrome.
Okay, right.
I have a child with albinism, someone has done something wrong and all that kind of thing. And when we get in contact with the parents, we try and encourage them. It's just the skin color. It's just the color. Otherwise, everything is fine. Everything is fine. And there are many young parents who, who are very supporting to their children.
Lovely.
Yeah, and the
Yes.
biggest challenge that we face now with the project is trying to get adults with albinism, like those who are my age or older, to try and get them into the system and try and get them get checked, get treatment. So this is a challenge that we are facing.
I see. So, well, how do you think that you may overcome this challenge?
Sometimes we just have to take the service to the doorstep.
Exactly. I think we have to do that. Yeah.
Yes, I think because the old generation have been affected for so long, so it might take a bit of time,
Yes.
and probably a lot of counseling is needed for them to come in and be registered with the project. And they are the ones that are important at the moment because of the skin cancer. They've been exposed without any protection all these years.
I see.
Yes, so that needs to be addressed. So there needs to be a lot of inclusiveness in the community, in any other areas where they live in.
Okay, so that's it. Like you said, there's lawyers, there's doctors who have albinism, and it didn't stop them from getting what they wanted. And but just because of the myths that you were saying and the mandua and all these things, it's actually pushed you down instead of letting you excel and be that very clever person. But we'll be back again on Speak Your Mind. Hope you're enjoying the show. Thank you a lot for your company. And we're back on Speak Your Mind, Gold FM, only the classic hits. And it's lovely to have your company in the studio with us today, representing the Fiji Albinism Project, Saini Militawake, and also Dr. Tuivakau, the dermatologist at Tumi Hospital. So another question that I've got now is, how has raising awareness on albinism helped people living with the condition, especially children?
One thing is to raise awareness. One thing is to let them know, provide them with information. And another thing is how that information has changed them. And, that bit we cannot really, for us, the providing of the information is very important through our publications and our booklet, our albinism booklet, our posters and our brochures, and even one-to-one conversation with parents and also with teachers. But as a whole, I'm a person who was born with albinism. And through the years, I see the changes, particularly when we started this albinism, International Albinism Awareness Day, and, and the establishment of Fiji Albinism Project. So people start, not all,
Yeah.
The change will come slowly, starting to get, to be aware of the issues that we're facing. This is
Exactly, how you feel.
Yes.
Yes, I mean, it
Yes.
has to be like that because before, I suppose they just, put their head down. And
Yes.
But now you've got
Yes.
this Fiji Albinism
Yes.
Project, and you being at the head and representing and being a voice for people living with albinism. I'm sure you can create a lot of awareness.
Yes.
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 So you are seeing the difference already. I mean, it's only 4 years.
I'm seeing the difference already. During my time when I was a little girl, traveling to school through Suva, I could be the only person in albinism walking in the city, through the city. But now, if I have to walk from here to the bus station, I can see at least 4, 3, 5, But that was never done before. It never happened
So they
before.
didn't really want to come out. Oh.
Again, yes. They don't want to come out again because of this mandua.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
people
Staring.
staring. But I think
Yes.
even it's just bad manners to stare. Full
Yes.
stop.
Yes.
And then, man, I just don't know. I know, just control yourself, I mean, I was always taught not to stare at anyone, full stop, by my grandfather and my father and my family. They used to tell me, that staring is bad manners.
Yes, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, like if somebody's glaring at you or staring at you, I mean, for a person without albinism, how would you feel?
Exactly.
Yeah. I mean, and for us, it's worse. With this condition, and then people once they're all eyes look. So you feel like you want to just get drowned into the earth or because of the eyes. It's yeah.
Oh, man. If it was me, I'd just say, yes, what are you staring at? Can I help you?
That's right.
I know, I mean, geez, but it's good that we're raising awareness so people can, actually know to not to do that.
Yes.
Yeah. So you can, Doctor, anything else that you might like to add?
I think we forgot to mention that they are good musicians. They're very talented.
Oh, I remember DJ Tora. He's on, every evening. He had a very good friend who was a wonderful musician, but I think he's passed away now. Do you know his name?
Vatuanga?
That's the one, Batuanga. Yes.
Jerry's dad. It's Jerry Stage Tag.
Right.
Yeah,
Exactly.
They're very
Yes,
talented. They're very
yes.
talented.
Boy, he's a talented musician. You're right, Doctor. So I suppose you were one of his fans, were you?
Yes, yes, certainly.
Yeah. So,
Yes, with albinism, they have their physical issues, they have the psychosocial issues, and they also have the psychological issues. So those are the areas that we are trying to address with this project and with the funding that's made available to us.
okay, so the funding available, is that from the
From the
government?
ministry, and we also have some good colleagues from abroad
Okay,
that
lovely.
are donating us funds. So they are the other ones actually who are funding Sainimili for this project.
Good, good. And I hope that you get more on board.
Yes.
That would be really nice. Okay, so we're almost wrapping up here. Is there anything else, Mili, that you'd like everyone to know?
Yes, I would like to acknowledge, Dr. Tui and his colleague dermatologists in Tumi Hospital,
Right.
and Dr. Saha and his colleagues at Pacific Eye Institute. They've been so wonderful in embracing albinism, particularly in addressing the health conditions of persons with albinism. I would like also to acknowledge Dr. Margot Whitfield from St. Vincent's Hospital in Sydney, and Sister Helen with the Loreto Sisters. They've been doing marvelous job in supporting the Fiji Albinism project and the work on albinism and the message to persons with albinism. Again, as reiterating what Dr. Tui had said, please get covered up. We're in the hot sun. The sun, we can, protect ourselves from the sun. Yep. Go to the nearest subdivisional hospital or to Tumi Hospital if you're in Suva. Get your sunscreen from us, and also cover yourself up. When you're walking out there, white brim hat or with an umbrella, long sleeve shirt or long trousers. Protect ourselves. It's best that we protect ourselves from the sun. Remember, our white skin, we are beautiful.
Lovely. I think that's a perfect message. And just another thing that I'd like to say, when you were brought up, how was your mother? Was she lovely to you?
Of course. Her doctor was Dr. Mary Schramm. So when she gave birth to this very fair child, and then she was looking at me, and then she saw that my eyes, was wobbling, moving from side to side. And Dr. Schramm advised her, you continue to look at her eyes. After the 6th day, if her eyes stopped moving, she's only a fair child. If after the 6th day, if her eyes continue to move, then she's a child with albinism. And my mother has been very supportive. She went out of her way to get myself, enrolled into school and, supporting me all the way to get proper education and also, to be myself.
Good. That's lovely. And I'm sure that's the advice that you would like to give to other
Exactly.
parents as well. So
Exactly.
they can be as fortunate as you.
Thank you. Yes.
All right, then, we have come to an end. Thank you so much for coming to Speak
Thank you,
Your
Liz.
Mind today. And it's been lovely talking with you both, representing the Fiji Albinism Project, Sainimili Tawake, Vinakavakalevu, and also Dr. Tuidakau.
Thank you, Liz.
Thank you. Thank you, Lois.
Thank you indeed. And that's it for Speak Your Mind for this week. Until next week, take care. Nisa mo demanda.